Hey there, I'm Chef Yankel, head chef at ButcherBox, and it is my honor to welcome you to Turkey Tips. So tonight we're going to cover 3 different ways to prepare a turkey, plus a couple of other details along the way. This is my respectively 17th, 18th, and 19th turkey that I've cooked this season to create incredible content for you. But I was reminded of the very first time that I made a turkey. It was to impress a girlfriend's family. I put the turkey in the oven at 6 a.m. I basted it every 15 minutes. I lived and breathed by the stove. And while, unfortunately, that relationship didn't work out, my love for turkey has only grown since. So I'm going to share with you some of my experience and some of the things that I've picked up along the way. By the way, we're going to cover a lot. So ultimately, the goal is that you are going to leave incredibly confident about how you're going to prepare Thanksgiving and how you're going to deal with turkey from this moment on. However, I understand if it's a little bewildering and there's a lot of information. Do not fear. And hopefully you all have ordered your turkeys already. But if you haven't, make sure you do it because they're selling fast. On the back of your package, there is a QR code. That QR code is going to lead you to a treasure trove of turkey tips, tricks, videos, recipes, and pretty much everything you can imagine, right down to a holiday planner. All right, so we're going to start with some of the basics. And for me, a basic is always going to be a brine when it comes to a turkey. It's old school, it's a traditional way of doing it, and the reason we do it is because turkey is such a lean meat. So a brine is basically a salt, sugar solution, in this particular case, plus a volume of water, plus lots of flavors. So this year, I'm putting sugar, salt, and basically your measurements can change. I'm doing 4 cups of water to a cup each, salt and sugar, and then we're going to add about 16 cups of water via ice. And the idea there is to add the volume and bring the temperature down as quickly as possible. Now, for some flavors. So we're going to go a little bit traditional here. I've got my thyme and rosemary. Those are going in. I've got apple cider, good fall flavor. I've got maple syrup, another sort of New England classic, which as far as I know, is where Thanksgiving holiday originated. Some orange. Adds a little bit of citrus, a little bit of zest, and you're going to see me use our holiday butter. This is an herb holiday butter that I put together. Herb holiday. I've struggled with that for so long. Herb holiday? Anyway, we're going to put that in, and I've added some zest to that as well, and there's going to be a recipe available for that. But the zest in the brine is going to marry really nicely with that butter flavor. We've got garlic, apples, whole peppercorn, and some fresh bay leaves. And then, just to finish it off, a little mirepoix, combination of onions, carrots, and celery. It's going to add really just balance and body, ultimately. Don't need to peel the carrots. Give everything a good rinse. Rough chop goes right in there. And all we want to do is let that simmer for just a couple of minutes so it has time to activate the flavors. Now, in the meantime, while we let that simmer, what we're going to do is we're going to truss a turkey breast. And basically, the idea here is, number one, if you've got a smaller gathering, it's a really easy way for you to prepare a smaller portion and still have all that incredible Thanksgiving flavor. Sorry. And the other thing is that it's incredibly fast to cook. But because it's slightly misshapen, as in it always tapers and it's fatter on one end, what we want to do is try and incorporate the shape to the extent that we can, make sure that it's uniform as much as possible, and so that is where kitchen string comes in. So I'm going typically with about 5 lengths, a minimum of 5 lengths of the turkey itself. Should give me enough. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. Some are easier and some are more difficult. The easy way is you cut lengths about that long, put them under, tie them. The more difficult but fancier way, which I'll show you, is this process called trussing, which uses a hand loop combination. So I'm going to leave a little bit of string at the end, Basically what that does is it allows me to wrap the string all the way around the other side of the turkey and bring everything together. Just a double knot right there. Simple. And we don't need to overwhelmingly truss this turkey. We just want to, I would say, 5 or 6 loops around it, just to keep that shape. So, string up, my hand's gonna go under the string, and I create a loop like that. Now I drop the loop down over the turkey breast, and I just drag it so it's past that initial knot. And then I pull it, adjust it, and tighten it, like so, and we repeat. We'll do this about 3 more times. Adjust, pull it tight, try to get it even. Let's see, 2 more I think will do it really nicely. And you can apply this trussing method to a whole chicken. You can apply it to a pork loin, for example. If you were to stuff a pork loin, cut it open, butterfly it, and then stuff it. This is a terrific method for keeping everything together while it cooks. And then very easy to cut the string off at the end. Just don't forget to cut the string off at the end. Here we go, last loop, right under there. All right. And now I'm gonna flip it over, take the string from one end, bring it around. I'm gonna pull that skinny end together, come back up to the top, connect my 2 ends, and that should basically do it for trussing a turkey breast. Jenny, would you mind grabbing me a bag of ice out of that freezer? Thank you. I knew there was one thing on my to-do list that I hadn't checked off, and it was grabbing the ice. All right, get rid of that. So the string itself won't burn, and basically the method that I'm using for this is smoking, so I smoke it on a charcoal grill. However, if you leave a lot of excess string, that will light on fire. We want to avoid that to the extent that we can. So go back in there. Don't worry, everything will get sanitized, rinsed, including myself at the very end of this. So here we go. This is coming to a simmer, and really it just needs 2 to 3 minutes tops. And you've incorporated all of the flavors you need. Ice. Oh yeah. All right, so you can play around with the volume on your brine, but the high salt and sugar content of this brine to a little bit less water than normal, because normally I'd go 1.5 cups sugar and 1.5 cups salt to about 1 gallon of water, is going to allow me to brine it a little bit faster. You don't want to leave this turkey in this brine for 18 hours, but 8 hours is going to do perfectly. So, ice into our bucket. Now, the next step is going to be taking our brine, pouring that over the ice. It's going to cool it immediately. It's going to add that extra water volume. Make it real easy for us to get that in the fridge as quickly as possible. And by the way, if I'm doing this at home, I'm using just a big, like 2-gallon Tupperware with a red top. The oval fits perfectly, fits nicely in the fridge. Let's get that off so we don't scorch our pan. Cool. So now we're going to give that a quick stir. Just want to cool it down as quickly as possible. It's pretty much instantaneous. Turkey breast goes in. If you find your turkey breast is not fully submerged, as can happen, you can add a little bit of water, never gonna hurt, or you can flip it halfway through the brining process. All right, here we go. So I've got a lid. This will go into the refrigerator overnight, or roughly 8 hours. I can start it in the morning if I need to. Not an emergency. You got plenty of time with this one. As much time as you can give it, up to about 8, 10, 12 hours is kind of gonna push your salty limit. All right, let's get that out of the way. Now, we have an opportunity to see what that cooked breast is actually gonna look like on the smoker. This is probably my favorite way to make turkey these days. Smoking it over charcoal with some wood. I've used a mix of hickory and pecan, a little bit of sweetness. It's gonna marry with that citrus. And for a charcoal grill, always gonna set up 2 zones, a cooler zone, a hotter zone, so coals will always be off to one side. I use a combination of soaked wood chips and non-soaked wood chips, and I rotate it every 20 minutes or so. I did baste it periodically with the herb butter, and that just adds such tremendous flavor. The more it heats up, the more it absorbs whatever you're basting it with. Now, the most important thing you can do is let it rest. So I'm just gonna set that down right here. We're gonna leave it alone for a little bit. Let me clear that. All right, everybody following so far? So far, pretty basic. I understand the smoking could be a little bit new to some people, so be sure to ask some questions about how that works and timing and such. You can also smoke it for a little while, finish it in the oven, and finish it in an Instant Pot. Actually, air fry would probably work perfectly for that. I think it fit perfectly in my air fryer. So nice, easy ways to do this. All right, next up, let's take a look at this beautiful bird. Now, these are really amazing turkeys. They are obviously all natural, like everything that we do. They are no added hormones. They are vegetarian diet. They are gluten-free. I mean, a beautiful, delicious bird. You really don't need to do much to it to make it incredible. So, we're gonna do much to it, because that's what we do. So, this is a method called spatchcocking. Before we get to that, just a couple of pointers about when you open your turkey and you take it out of the package. And I'm gonna put on gloves because this is actually going to get messy. And I know some people out there have been bugging me on YouTube to wash my hands more, so I'm gonna wash my hands more, but in the meantime, I'm gonna wear gloves. Here we go. All right. Remember, it's all television. Gloves on, here we go. So, with the whole turkey, there are gonna be 2 bags inside that have some of the innards, plus the neck, which usually flies solo somewhere in the cavity. The 2 bags, and there's one that just always slips past me, and everyone I know has cooked a turkey with that other bag in there. Try to keep this as clean as possible. Beautiful. All right. So the first is obvious. You've got the main cavity. In here, we're going to find a neck with a little bit of ice on it. No problem. Amazing for stock. Absolutely recommend roasting all of the pieces that you add to your stock first. Your oven goes up to 500 degrees. Let it go there. Roast them for 10-15 minutes till they're nice and browned. Toss them right into a stock. I've got my stock going here, but I'll talk about that in just a moment. I'm just going to add this neck in. I've already got a roasted neck, but definitely recommend roasting first. Now, in there is one more. I know there's a bag in there somewhere. Here we go. Oh, no bag. So on this side, no bag. Some internal organs. Don't need those right now. And then the last one hides in the neck cavity. Don't forget about that one. Gosh, can't tell you how many of those I've pulled out afterwards and been like, oops. All right, here we go. But, you know, do it over and over. Eventually you figure it out. And this year, I haven't cooked a single turkey yet with a bag inside of it. Spatchcocking. All right. So maybe you've heard this word before, maybe not. And basically the idea is we're going to split the turkey down the middle on one side, spread it out, and that allows us to cook it quickly and evenly, basically wherever we want. You don't need to change pans in your oven. You don't need to spend 6-8 hours cooking a turkey. It's going to cook in half the time. Actually, this year I did it on a pellet grill, and it was phenomenal. The other thing about spatchcocking is it kind of allows you to skip the brining process because it makes it really easy to cook a moist turkey and not overcook it, which is often the problem when you cook a whole bird. So, in order to spatchcock, and this does get a little messy. It is a labor of love. It does take some practice. Be patient with yourself. If you encounter resistance in the turkey, you can always go around it. You'll get through it. What I do recommend are a very good pair of kitchen shears. That is all you need for this process. So we're gonna start, and I'm gonna turn this around so you can see. Snip off a little of that. We're gonna start underneath the breastbone. So where the meat meets the breastbone, you're gonna have to dig in and find that. And once you do, you're gonna start to cut the breastbone down the middle. This makes it a little bit easier for the second part when we flip it over. So I'm gonna just get in there, snip, snip. I'm gonna go as far as I can comfortably. And once it gets really difficult, I'm gonna stop and flip the bird over, and then we'll finish it on the other side. Here we go. All right, about halfway there. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way now that I don't need it. All right. I've cut through the breast most of the way, flipping it over. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the spine from both sides, and we're gonna use that for our stock. You can absolutely roast it along with the turkey. You can just cut one side and split it from there, but I like to have all that extra flavor. So I'm going in right what they call the Pope's nose. I call this the chef's delight. I'll take it every time. Here we go. One side of my chef's delight along the spine all the way to the top. And again, a little bit of elbow grease, sometimes 2 hands. If you're good with a cleaver, now's the time to put it to work. All the way through. And once you've done it like 15 or 16 times a season, like I have this year, it gets a little bit easier. And make sure we're separated at the top. And now I'm just gonna turn it around, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing along the other side. And again, this is personal preference. I love the flavor I get out of this. Roasted for a couple of minutes and then right into the stock is just so good. You cannot beat that roasted flavor. But I'm gonna go right into my stock tonight, because I want to make sure I use it, and I want to talk about stock in a moment. There we go. Like I said, sometimes you're going to encounter some resistance. You got to do your best to get through it. Occasionally attack it from the other side. It can vary. Here we go. And we'll come at it from this side now. There we go. That's the sound I was looking for. One last cut. That's gonna defeat me. It'll not defeat me. And are we clear? Not quite yet. There we go. All right. This beautiful baby. You know what? I'm gonna save. That's gonna be for me, roasted and smoked later. The rest is going into our stock. So, a couple of pointers about turkey stock. Number 1, contrary to what may be popular opinion, do not boil it. Simmer, and a gentle simmer at that. The longer you let it simmer, the more you're going to extract flavors, the less you're going to pull impurity that exists in any of the elements of a stock, be it the vegetable, be it the protein. And what we want is gentle, gentle, gentle. If you can leave this overnight, that's gonna be your best turkey stock ever. It's the kind that's like gelatinous. It's almost like turkey jello, and it makes gravy like no other. So, other than that, carrots, onions, celery, your basic herbs, be free with your choices, however you wanna do it. Bottom line is plenty of water. If the water cooks down, you can add water. Roasted turkey remnants go into the stock, and it's magical. I use this all year round. All right, for our spatchcock bird. So now I've cut through, the spine is already cut through. I can now attack the breastbone from the other side. Again, a little bit of elbow grease. There we go. All right. There's always going to be 1 or 2 difficult cuts, but basically that allows me to open this entire thing up, like so. Split it down the middle. And there we have a spatchcocked turkey. It's gonna cook twice as fast as your regular turkey. It'll stay moist. If you do want to brine it, go for it. Easy to brine now. It fits in a smaller package. And basically, I'm going to treat it to an herb butter bath or massage at this point, bath later. I'll baste it throughout using the same butter. But in this case, just brush it all over. Warm the butter up a little bit first, make it easier to spread. Get in under the wings. You can start with the other side. Really you're gonna carve your own path with this one. The main thing is that once you're comfortable with that spatchcock process, you're probably gonna stick with it when it comes to whole birds because it's just so easy, so much fun. Presentation is so cool. I mean, you put this thing down on a Thanksgiving table in the center, and it's fall apart tender. If you've got a pellet smoker, highly recommend using that for this. Took me about 3 hours, give or take, at around 300 degrees. Get that covered with this butter, and I can just smell the garlic and the citrus and all of the Thanksgiving herbs in there. No matter how many times I do this, I just can't get tired of it. I love it so much. All right, and I'm just gonna top that off with a little bit of salt and pepper. I've added a little bit of seasoning to the herb butter, but not much, and I wanna make sure that we get a nice, crispy, delicious, flavorful skin. Every bite should be fantastic, as good as the last one or better. So, healthy serving. If you brined it, take it easy on the salt. If you didn't brine it, go crazy. I did not brine this one, so I'm gonna go crazy. Lots and lots of salt. And I'm using Malden sea salt. It's a flat, flaky crystal. Doesn't tend to melt too much under heat and in liquid. And I like it because it adds a little bit of crunch texture, and you get like a nice bite of salt with every bite. All right, that is a spatchcock turkey. Thanks for bearing with me. It's always fun doing it in front of a crowd. I'm gonna put that aside for now. Let's clean up the station just a bit. So one of the keys to doing a good Thanksgiving and have it not feel like it's the most stressful day of your life because the whole family is gonna show up and judge you for your cooking skills, which is what happens in my family. Oh, let me put that away before someone takes it. Is cleaning as you go. Start with an empty sink. Make sure that every step along the way, you spend a moment cleaning up, getting it out of the way. Have a soapy bin that you can toss things in so it's easy to wash later. Main thing is keep it going. All right. And it makes your life so much easier. And I like to work with a clean station to the extent that I'm able. So there we are. Our turkey stock is simmering. Our smoked breast is resting. What's next? Oh, traditional. All right. Traditional roasted turkey. Let me grab mine out of the oven and we'll talk about it. Ooh, yes. All right. What is this, 19? 19? 19. What I'm gonna do though, before we talk about cooked food, before I get into carving, is wash my hands with hot soapy water, because I know you've all been waiting to see this for a long time. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. It's not really my birthday. Feels like it though. All right. So, like the breast, we want to let the whole turkey rest for as long as possible. Full disclosure, I cooked this a little bit earlier and let it rest outside the oven before putting it back in for the reveal. Nonetheless, we'll let it rest a couple minutes and we'll talk about carving our breast. Before I do that, I want to say I did not brine this turkey. I just slow roasted it. So I started with 290 as my beginning temperature. I let it come up to temp a little bit, so when the turkey hit 100 degrees inside, I brought the temperature up to 375. I let it roast for about an hour to get that nice golden color, basted it periodically, dropped the temperature back down a little bit. That's what I mean by slaving over the stove for a turkey. You can do that. You can skip the brining process. You just want to make sure you're not steaming the bird to death because that's where you lose all that moisture. If you have the opportunity to brine the whole bird, I usually do it in a cooler with some ice, leave it outside overnight, and just check the temperature periodically, make sure it's below 40 degrees. Now, the other thing that you want to do is baste it as often as you can. Every 30 minutes is great, every hour is fine. If you can only get to it once or twice, it's worth doing no matter what. All those juices get reabsorbed as the turkey heats up. And then letting it rest is really the key point to getting a really juicy turkey by not having to brine it first. If you brine it, you pretty much can't screw it up no matter what. It's gonna be juicy, it's gonna be delicious, but it's a whole another day, another step. So, something to think about. All right. For our turkey breast. Now, remember I said don't forget to take the string off. So I'm gonna take the string off first, gently. I don't wanna disturb this beautiful smoked crust. Oh, it smells so good. I've got a bunch of this in the freezer. By the way, leftovers of this smoked turkey breast make the best breakfast hash you could possibly imagine. Never mind the sandwiches and everything else that you could imagine doing with it. It is truly a treat, and it keeps on surprising you. A day later, it's going to taste even better than Thanksgiving. For carving, simply, I'm going to go perpendicular to the length of the breast. I'm going to go ½ inch or slightly less in terms of the thickness of the slice, and I want to preserve the crust to the extent that I can, so I'm using the sharpest knife that I've got in the drawer today. And even then, you hear that crackle? That's a good smoke right there. When you hit that center of that brined breast, it is just unbelievable. And you can see I've got a nice little smoke ring going on there. It was a good smoke. All right. I did too good of a job with that turkey skin. Yeah. That is scrumptious. I can't even describe the aroma coming out of this right now. I've got all the flavors of the brine. I've got all the flavor of smoke. I've got the natural, just incredible smell of the turkey itself. It's all coming together. God, this is the way to do it. If you want to challenge yourself this Thanksgiving, spend a little time with a charcoal grill if you've got one. Pellet grill works just fine. But for me, this is sort of an easy jumping off point to smoking things. Again, it's been brined, so it's hard to kind of overcook it as long as you're keeping an eye on it. And you don't need a big grill. You don't need a heavy-duty smoker or anything like that. You can really get a beautiful smoke on any kind of charcoal grill, where as long as you have a vent and you can let some of that smoke flow over the meat, it's that easy. Gently with the skin, I said. All right. Couple more slices. I cannot wait to dig into what I think is my 11th turkey breast right now. Don't get tired of it, honestly. It just smells fantastic. All right, that's good. I like to leave big chunky ends because someone's gonna want that ultra well done piece. It's all crunchy. Also, that's really good for the hash. So for my platter, in case you're interested, I just kind of combined some of the flavors that I put into the brine. So I've got orange slices on the bottom, lots of fresh thyme, and then some gala apple slices, which is what I used for the brine. That's just gonna go on there. Easy does it. We'll let that piece fall open and just shingle these a bit, and that contrast of that smoky skin, that dark color, and that beautiful succulent turkey breast is so awesome. I'm just gonna move that right there. And wipe the station down, and then we're gonna carve our whole turkey. Now, I know this is a thing. Carving a turkey well, you might be an electric knife user, nothing wrong with that, it works perfectly. But I prefer to take this thing apart and do it my way. So, we're going to move our turkey onto the board. Obviously, I'm reserving all these juices. Again, terrific for stock. I can drizzle some on them. I can throw it in the fridge, let the fat separate. I can use the fat for my hash, and then the liquid for another gravy or a sauce or a soup or anything like that. All right, so to get started, first you want to remove the thermometer that comes with it, the pop-out thermometer. They're fairly accurate. They tend to pop out right at the exact moment the turkey's done. So if you see it pop out or you're watching for it, take it out right away and let it rest, because at that point you begin to overcook. First thing I do is remove the thighs, starting at the joint of the leg bone. And if I've done it properly, and by the way, these turkeys do come with a little piece of twine around the legs that keep them together, so you don't have to truss the turkey itself. So right there, you can see I've split that area, and I'm just going to cut around. All that juice. Should have let it rest longer. The longer you let it rest, the less juice is going to escape. Just going to sit that down a little bit, and if I've cooked it properly, which I believe I have, it should come apart fairly easily. Not too much chopping. And I'm just going to cut out against the carcass, against that rib cage, cut through. We'll just sit that there for a moment. This smells incredible. You can see how juicy it stayed, even though I didn't brine it. Just a little bit of slower cooking, taking the time to baste it. Lots of that herb butter, good amount of salt and pepper, and I stuffed it with oranges, lemon, onion, some fresh herbs, because basically it allows it to really steam from the inside as it begins to cook. Next, I'm going to take off the wing, and that is just fall apart tender right there. Now, when you're cutting joints on a bird, there's always going to be a point where you can cut very easily. All you have to do is search for that point with your knife. If you hit bone, it's not going to go through. When you hit the edge of where the joint is, it'll cut right through it, no problem. You know what? Let's just put those on our tray, and I'll show you the same idea. If you look at where the leg and the thigh meet, and you cut at an angle, you're generally going to hit exactly where it cuts cleanly. If you try to cut it like that and keep that whole shape of the leg, then you encounter the bone, and it's a lot harder. So let's see if I can nail this on one shot. Nope, missed it. Got to feel around for it. Where are we? There we go. It's always an easy point. Just got to hunt for it. That's a beautiful leg right there. I'm going to just taste that. All right. That really feels like Thanksgiving. Honestly, this is the first traditional bird I've cooked this season, and I think I was missing it. That tastes like Thanksgiving. That is so good. All right, now for the breast. So, not overly complicated, but basically what you want to do is find where the center of the breastbone goes, and there's two breasts, right? One on each side. We're going to cut in along the breastbone, and once I have a cut and I can feel the breastbone against the knife, I angle the knife slightly towards the breastbone and just cut along it. And again, it's kind of a feel your way. And once I've gotten down to where the knife stops, that's where the breastbone curves out, I'm going to come at it from underneath, cut along, and then basically just use the edge of my knife to slowly pull it away. And I kind of want to leave as much of the carcass itself intact and just get the breast off on its own. And you can see I'm just going in there gently, small cuts. It'll allow me to pull the turkey breast away easily and allows me to keep that whole skin intact. And I'm trying to do this so y'all can see it perfectly. I'll come in from this side, same idea. And then once you can peel it away, you're just looking for that point of no resistance or of minimal resistance. And I'm gonna leave that wing bone on if I can. And I believe I can. Oh yeah. All right, move that off to the side. So here we have our turkey breast. If you've ever had airline chicken breast, like at an event, they always leave this wing bone on. I just did it for fun, I'm taking it off now. It's kind of a fancy presentation at times. That is a nice wing right there. And now, this allows us to slice our turkey breast without disturbing the skin too much. Have a nice presentation. If you put it on a platter versus carving to order, it's kind of an easy way to do it. So again, medium thin slices, roughly 1/2 inch. Gently does it all the way through. Ooh, that looks good. It's just unbelievably like moist, succulent, juicy. It's incredible. These are such good turkeys. Hope some of you have put some jokes in there, because I haven't found a good turkey joke yet. All right, right onto our platter. Try to keep it all together, and then I'll spread it out when it gets there. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. And just a little bit of those pan drippings right over the top of everything. That was fun. Here we go. Oh, that part's mine. All right, before we wrap up, I'm gonna go wash my hands again, because I feel like I didn't quite nail it the first time. I'm gonna nail it now. I need another 20-second song. 20-second song, anyone? Really sick of Happy Birthday. All right. I'm just gonna turn my stock down. As you can see, once you got those bubbles on top, that's a sign you're hitting the heat point, your kind of maximum heat point for a really clear stock. The main difference is you're gonna wind up with a cloudy stock versus a clear stock the more you boil it. You can have a crystal clear stock that's got a really clean flavor the less you boil it. A very, very gentle simmer, a couple bubbles rising to the surface. It's all the temperature you need. All right, let's see what we got here. So we've got our smoked turkey breast, brined, 8 hours or so. Fairly easy. You can roast this. You don't have to smoke it or grill it or anything like that. Throw it into an oven. This will handle high heat pretty well. 375, about hour and a half, 2 hours tops. You're good to go. Let it rest. You can actually do this a day before if you want, and then heat it up on Thanksgiving, and it's going to be incredible. When I reheat these, I'll usually throw some gravy in the bottom of a pan, throw it in the pan, throw it in the oven covered. Takes about 45 minutes. You can even slice it first. You can pull it out of the refrigerator, slice it cold, get beautiful, clean slices, put it in the gravy, cover it, and heat it up, and no one is going to know you didn't make it that day, right then and there. With the whole roasted bird, traditional style, I love brining, but it's a huge pain in the butt to do a whole bird in a brine. So if you want to skip it, just take your time with it. Start at low temperature, let the turkey come up a little bit, crank the heat so you get that nice crispy skin, all the fat will render out. Drop your heat down a little bit and just baste it periodically and make sure you let it rest. And for the spatchcock bird, well, if you do it, I want to hear about it. It's obviously a lot easier to do a chicken. Turkey's big, thick bones. You need a good pair of shears or a cleaver or both if you're comfortable with it. But certainly worth trying at least once. And it's just the easiest way to cook a turkey once it's been spatchcocked. So if you've got someone around who's willing to take the challenge, I say go for it. And I think that's about it. If you don't know yet, on our YouTube channel, there is a ton of Thanksgiving content on our website under the recipes tab. Tons more content. Everything you need to do Thanksgiving easily, successfully, have it be the most delicious Thanksgiving ever. And, you know, we also cover all the other ButcherBox cuts as well. So while you're hunting for Thanksgiving content, make sure you check out some of your favorite recipes. I hope you learned something. I hope you feel a little bit more confident as the holidays approach. Remember, we are here all the time to help you, to make you feel confident in the kitchen, to give you tips and tricks on how to make things easier, how to make things more complicated. I am famous for making things more complicated, but no matter what, you should feel more comfortable. And remember, check that QR code when your turkey comes. Make sure you hunt for the recipes. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we're always putting new content that's designed to help you cook. And I think that's it from me. I just want to say a big thank you to the crew that is behind the cameras right now. None of this happens without them planting me in front of the camera and saying, say something. But everything you see and how beautiful it looks and the quality of the sound, every element, down to the placement of the pumpkins behind me, has been thoughtfully taken care of and put together. And a big thank you to everyone who made this possible. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching, and I look forward to doing this again with you sometime soon. From ButcherBox, wishing you happiest Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and take care.